To you both. Really appreciate the time this morning. I'm Ian Campbell with Alpha Capital, and today we're going to really go over the enrollment piece of the 401k plan, but also answer any questions that you got about enrolling, 401k investments, what to save, where to put your money, all that good stuff. Steve, I did shoot you that email yesterday again. That can be forwarded out to those participants at your leisure. And then going forward, if there's any questions that either of you have, you're more than happy to reach out to myself or my partner, Mark L., with regards to any questions about getting set up on the 401k. But after we'll review this, meeting should only last about 20-25 minutes, and we'll open it up for questions throughout the time. So if you've got a question, holler out. We'll pause and then get that question answered right away. The first attachment that I wanted to review is what's called the online enrollment packet. And it is a 15-page document. There's nothing that you will need to print out or have a paper copy at all. All the information can be done and submitted electronically online through the online enrollment. So the Retirement Building Your Future website is up here. The next page of the PDF is going to be the main content that you'll access the online enrollment portal or that section. The first step is to go to the Retirement Plan Consultants website, and Retirement Plan Consultants is going to be the provider. And the provider would be somebody that you may be familiar with, like Fidelity, Empower, John Hancock, Mass Mutual. They're going to be the online access. They're going to handle your actual physical account. The monies are going to be going into that account, and they handle all the trading as well. So Retirement Plan Consultants is a website that you'll be going to. That's what you see on your screen there. In the top left corner of this gray box, and I've actually got it pulled up on my screen as well too, that I wanted to show you what it looks like just to create some familiarity for you. So once you go to the Retirement Plan Consultants website, you'll be prompted to see this. They've got a notice up because they'll close for Labor Day. Up in the top left corner of this gray box, you'll see where it says online enrollment. You'll click that. It'll flip that actual little box and rectangle, and you'll be prompted to be putting in a plan password. And going back to that document, your plan password is going to be Signal, HI, all capital letters. It is case sensitive, so make sure you are putting in all capital letters, and then you'll hit next and continue to that onboarding process. On this 15-page document, towards the bottom of it, I believe it starts on page 9, there is a guided step of that kind of tutorial, if you will, of going to that website, clicking online enrollment, typing in the password, hitting next, and then putting in your social security number, date of birth to verify your identity, and so on. So you could follow this page 9 all the way through page 15 as kind of a step-by-step process of what to do. I do want to make aware there is one unique piece when you're clicking the sources of money. So on the 4th step, there is a piece where it says, please select the sources of money from the list below. You do want to select all sources of money. So if you are getting to that and you're scratching your head, just refer back to this document, but please select all sources of money. So going back up, I did want to just bring to your attention on this homepage of that website, you will actually have the opportunity of viewing an online video, of online enrollment video, which is this link here. It goes to YouTube video, but it essentially is like those screenshots that we just saw on pages 9 through 15, just in a video format. So if you want a little bit more of a refresher of what to do or what's to come, you can click that link here, and that will prompt you out to YouTube to watch that video. So pretty straightforward. Go to a website, click online enroll, put the plan password in, and then follow those steps of putting in your information. I'm going to reference over to what's called the PDF enrollment form, which is the paper 2-page form. If people do need to fill out a paper form, they don't have access to computer or whatever, they can complete the online application in a paper form, and that's what's on your screen now. The enrollment packet, the paper enrollment packet, it is quite longer. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
No, we're good.
Okay, so the paper enrollment packet is something that's quite lengthy. There's 54 pages because it goes into the investment returns and the prospectuses and things like that. So don't hit print without checking to make sure. But this enrollment application is helpful just to walk through to give you an idea of what questions that you will be answering through that online portal of creating a username and password and putting in your investment elections and so on. So one also thing is this enrollment application, the paper enrollment application for you, Steve, is going to work as a waiver as well. So for those individuals who wish not to participate in the 401k plan at this time, they will actually utilize this 2-page form. They'll fill out the top section, and then they will select this first option, I elect not to contribute into the 401k plan. So that bottom piece, I elect not to contribute into the 401k plan at that time, is going to be that selection for that individual. So again, the waiver, we do recommend if there is a person that does not have a, or is not interested in participating at this time, is that they complete the participant information, select that second, or that first option in that second section, and then sign that back page, and you'll keep it on file for your records. So going to the participant information, all of it's going to be pretty straightforward. The one piece that you may not have at your fingertips is going to be your date of hire. So get with Steve, confirm the date of hire that you have. It matches up with theirs, and complete that. You'll also have to complete that online. The next section goes into the enrollment election, and that's going to be where we'll spend a little bit more time on discussing your options, what you have as choices available to you when selecting your 401k plan options. So the first section is going to be enrollment election, and you do have the option of putting in what's called a pre-tax contribution or a traditional contribution, or an after-tax Roth contribution. And the difference between the two is really essentially when the money is taxed. So depending on your personal financial situation, your income, tax bracket, things like that, one may be better than the other. In just general explanation, we tend to see people that are in their younger or in their earlier working years or in a lower tax bracket, they tend to do Roth, to call it hedge their bets, that they'll eventually make more money or be in a higher tax bracket, and that's when they'll be, utilizing the pre-tax contributions. So Roth contributions, younger, lower income levels, for a pre-tax contribution or the traditional contribution, that reduces your taxable income. So people that are, higher wage earners or looking to reduce their taxable income, the pre-tax option is often the best route there. One thing that I do want to mention as well is the pre-tax contribution that the employee would have or make if they're going to make a pre-tax contribution, that would have a lesser of effect to your paycheck. So if you're looking to save as much as you possibly can, but ultimately have the least impact to your net take-home pay, is that we'd recommend that pre-tax contribution or the traditional contribution, which would be that middle option there. And it'll be clearly explained online when you're selecting the options, Roth or pre-tax or traditional versus after-tax.
So this plan would allow you to use a mix of both?
Correct. So you can also do the to do either or as well. So you do have the option of doing both pre-tax and after-tax at the same time as well.
And then does that essentially result in two different accounts, or does the money go into the same place and just for tax purposes it's reported differently?
Exactly correct. So it's the latter. So it would go into the same exact account, but there would be just two money types or two line items that have different tax weightings on it.
Okay.
So you'll see, if you look at your statement on the 401k or on the website, it'll say, you've got $1,000 in pre-tax, $1,000 in after-tax.
Got it.
Okay. Very good question. So going to the next piece is going to be the how much question. So we've already identified, Roth and pre-tax, but the how much question is very important. We tend to see people start out at that 5 to 6% range from a contribution of their own. The national average is 8%. So use that 8% number as a kind of a line in the sand or a watermark to get to. A lot of studies and research has shown is that 10% is really the magic number that people should be saving or need to be saving to have a replacement of income in retirement and reach and obtain those goals that they have to maintain that lifestyle through retirement as well. So whatever you all can do from a saving standpoint, to start now is the most important thing. The earlier you can start, the absolute better, even if it's at a lower percentage. But getting started is very important. The 5 to 6% level is a great jumping off point. Something to consider is every year or every anniversary that you have of your hire date or something along those lines is bumping up your contribution from, say, that lower percentage up by 1%. And then the following year, bump it up again. And it's an easy way to kind of stair step or limp into a higher percentage by starting at, say, 5, going to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 over a period of time. So something to be mindful of. We'd recommend you to at least get going on it. The most powerful thing as investors that you can do is enroll now and start saving a little bit. If time is on your side, it's very, very important to get going as soon as possible. So any questions about traditional versus Roth or the contribution amounts?
No, but kind of backing up at the beginning of this, I got a stupid question. Who's our provider?
So the provider is Retirement Plan Consultants. So on the website, their logo is going to be up in that top left corner, and their website's yourplanaccess.net, and then retirement plan consultants. So Retirement Plan Consultants is the 401k record keeper, and that's going to be the provider. That's going to be really the front and center look for everybody. We at Alpha Capital are the financial advisors and help with the investments, help with enrollment like this, and are really on the front line of education and support as well.
Okay.
One quick mention, you all do have an opportunity of putting in a flat dollar amount per pay period if you would like. We don't recommend it for those individuals who are maybe working part-time or on an hourly pay, just because that flat dollar amount is going to come out regardless of the hours you work that period of time. If you're on vacation or out sick, that money is still going to come out of your paycheck and could add up to a larger percentage than what you may be doing. So we really only advise participants to utilize the flat dollar amount if they're looking to put in a specific number per year. Say they're going to save $10,000 a year, then they can go and figure out how many pay periods are left to get to that goal. Or if you're looking to max out your 401k contribution, the IRS limit for 401k contributions is $18,500 in 2018, and then an additional $6,000 if you're over age 50. So you could put in, if you're over age 50, you could put in a total of $24,500 into your 401k account in 2018. Again, if that is something that you're interested in, we can help plan around how many pay periods are left in the year, if that's something feasible to get to. And again, 2019 could also be relevant to that number as well for you.
Right.
Any questions about that? Okay, we're going to hop over to the investment piece. I'm going to skip over the bottom of the second page there. And this is the second page or the third page of that PDF enrollment packet. This lists all of the investment choices that are available to each of you as individual enrollees or participants into the plan. There's about 30 or so options. They've got phenomenal choices available to you, all of which are called institutional grade mutual funds, meaning that they're the lowest investment expense ratio available to investors. So you've got the best of the best in each of their asset classes and also very low cost investment choices available to pick from. But that doesn't help with that final question of how do I deploy our money, or how do I deploy my money? The last and final piece that we'll review, which is an attachment in the email, is what Mark and I put together every single quarter, and we call it our asset allocation guide, to help with that investment choice, but also ongoing investment advice of what to pick now, but also what to pick in the future as well. So all of those investment choices are all listed on that first column on that left-hand side of the screen. It should, I believe, pull up on your screen. Do you see where it shows on your screen where it's a big kind of spreadsheet that looks like an Excel spreadsheet?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the funds are all listed on the second column, or the first column. The asset class of that fund is in the second column. The ticker symbol is in the third. And this top larger rectangle, I've got it zoomed in so you can see it well. We've built 5 models based off of a risk tolerance that you all could follow as a diversified lineup, or what our recommend list of investment choices would be for that risk tolerance. So depending on your age, time frame, risk tolerance, you may fall into one of those categories from conservative all the way to aggressive. We tend to see people that are in their earlier working years start out aggressive, and then as they get through their working career, they tail off the risk. And then at retirement, they are in most cases around a 50-50 portfolio and a moderate risk tolerance. We rarely see people in that conservative or moderate conservative columns unless they're beyond retirement, or this bucket of money is different, or means a lot or means a little to them, and they're looking to be really strategic with this amount of money. We want to make sure people are taking appropriate risk when they have time on their side. We don't want individuals that are in their 20s or 30s invested all in cash because they are going to need an element of growth over a 20, 30-year period of time to get that account balance to grow. So we want to make sure you're taking appropriate risk, but not necessarily taking undue risk. So again, kind of that 20 to 30 crowd would be in that aggressive column, 30 to 40, even into the 50 crowd would be in that moderate aggressive column, and then 50-50 would be more in that retiree crowd or close to retirement crowd. And then as you get beyond into retirement, then we see the de-risk even more as you're looking for preservation. So this top larger rectangle is a guide for you to really just line those investment choices up, put those percentages into those individual lines, and line it up with that fund and fill it out to 100%. This is a little bit more hands-on on this sheet here. So the ask of you is if you are going to follow one of those columns, is that every quarter we do come out with this, is that you would either update those percentages once, twice a year, even up to 4 times a year if there are slightly adjustments into the 401k plan. The bottom choice, I've got it zoomed in here so you can see as a scenario B, or an option 2, would be the target date funds. And target date funds are very popular because they're more of that set it and forget it mentality or autopilot mode. The target date funds are a diversified option all within one fund. And the way they work is you would pick the year that you reach age 65, and that would plop you into this target date range. And let's just say you're at the 2052 range, and your fund is a 2055 fund. You would go 100% into that one fund. And the way these target date funds work are similar to that upper column or upper columns, is that they start out aggressive for those younger folks, and then they de-risk every single 5 years, and that's why you have those 5-year increments. So the ones that I've highlighted in blue are going to be more aggressive. They're going to be 90 to 80% in equities, or aggressive, or even beyond that aggressive column. The next 4, that 2025 to 2040 fund, those are going to be more in that moderate aggressive column. 60-40, 65-35, 70-30 type mix from equities to fixed income. And then the next 3, as they're closer to this current year, the 2018, they're going to be roughly about a 50-50 portfolio. So as you can see, they start out at roughly 90% in equities, are fairly aggressive, all the way and go down to about a 50% exposure to equities nearing retirement age. So option A would be to do something a little bit more hands-on, tactical, if you wanted to have a little bit more control of the investments and pick and choose them. If you wanted to be more hands-off with it, you've got the target date series as an option. And the third is you're free to do whatever else you would want. They are self-directed, so we just want to make sure we're getting you the education and the advice that you want, and you're picking investments appropriately. So one caveat I wanted to mention is there is no cost to changing your investments. You could start out with the target date fund today, and you could switch it a week from now and go to something else. There's no cost of going in and out of any of these funds. You can change it as much as you want or as little as you would like as well. Both of our contact information is in the email signature, but it's also on the bottom of this left-hand corner of this page, Mark and myself. and you're free to call us with any questions that you have as well. But I wanted to pause there before hopping over to a couple final things. Is there any questions that either of you have on the investments at all?
So this is Thomas. I have a dumb question. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's dumb, but how does rolling over from my prior 401k? How is it going to work? Did I miss that at the beginning or something? Or
Nope. So we're actually going to wrap that up with that. So if I'll pause, and say, let me get back to that in literally a minute. But that's a very good question, and we'll talk about that here in a second.
Let me ask a question about the investments. So
yep.
the target date funds, it says choose 100%, but I'm assuming you could do a blend of a certain percentage in a target account and then another percentage spread across the other funds above, correct?
You absolutely could. I think from a scenario standing, that's kind of hedge your bets, and it accomplishes almost like two things. Is you're trying to kind of play both sides of it, which is totally fine. You would ultimately be doing more of a passive approach in the target date series, and then more of an active approach for the other side. And to really split hairs over one versus the other, you may see a 0.5% or 0.25% performance difference over like a 5-year period of time. So there's not going to be a huge difference. If you are, going to do the columns, or follow one of those columns, I would say go all into that rather than choosing a target date fund or just doing a target date fund. The mixed scenario isn't really wise, I would suggest.
Okay.
But we do see it. It's out there. People, pick and choose. They don't want to be locked in. They want to, see how things are doing. They want to have exposure in all things. So it's definitely been done. It's not a dumb question, and not a dumb scenario. So.
Sure.
So we're going to hop back to the online enrollment piece, which will talk about the beneficiaries and talk about that rollover form. So on the third page of the online enrollment packet is the beneficiary designation form. If you are completing the online enrollment packet and doing the online portal, you can actually fill out all of your beneficiary information all online. Beneficiaries are very important because in the event that you pass away, the monies that you've accumulated in your account go to whom you wish. In most cases, they're spouses, kids, relatives. So you would list your beneficiary and their relation to you and how you would like that to be divvied up. As an example, husband and wife and 2 kids, your spouse would be named primary beneficiary at 100%, and then the 2 kids would be listed as contingent beneficiaries at 50% apiece. So if you've got questions about that, let us know, but it should be pretty straightforward. There is one unique thing. This is an IRS rule and Department of Labor rule, is that if you are married and you have a spouse, that you are required to make them 100% primary beneficiary. If you wish not to have them be primary beneficiary or first in line, if you will, then you have to get them to sign this form, a paper form, and a witness notary needs to be present as well too. So don't want to create any arguments at the dinner table this weekend or over the holiday weekend, but it is important. If you have a spouse, they're going to be first in line primary beneficiary. If they're not, you got to have actually the paper form filled out with that signature and that witness notary. So going to Thomas's question, and what we'll end on is the retirement plan account rollover. If each of you or either of you, or if it does apply, if you've got an old 401k account, IRA account outside at another provider that you would like to consolidate over to this account, you're more than happy to. It is available for participants who are eligible to participate into the plan. So you've got to technically enroll into the plan first to then roll over those monies into the plan. So they've got to have a bucket for that money to fall into. So you've got to complete the online enrollment or the enrollment process first before you initiate the rollover. There is a whole team at Retirement Plan Consultants that will actually help with that rollover. This is a form that you can start filling out. If you've got questions on it, we can help and they can help as well too. Essentially any account that's a retirement account or a qualified account that's at another company can roll into this 401k plan. But it also works on the outbound, is if you're no longer employed, and you want to roll your money out to the new 401k plan that you're working at or out to an IRA, you're more than happy to do that as well too. And the consolidation effect, or that roll in and roll out, is really intended to have that money follow you wherever you're working. One thing that can limit it is depending on eligibility of, like, say, a new job. If you have to wait a year, then that money may sit into this account for a year until you can port it out. We tend to see it very common for people to roll over and consolidate their money, just with the experience that they can't contribute to that other account balance. They don't really have that watchful eye on it anymore. And in some cases, people forget about it. They change addresses, they don't update that information, they lose track of it. So we really want to prevent that from happening to either of you if that does apply. But if it does apply, you have more questions about it, feel free to reach out to us. We can get you connected to it with retirement plan consultants. There's actually a phone number on the bottom of this client services number. It's an 877-800-1114 number. Stephanie Wolf, who is our onboarding specialist, Steve, is actually one of the individuals on the rollover team that actually helps with that for all of our plans as well too. So they've got a dedicated person that can help with that transition and rollover if need be. So that is all of the information that we wanted to cover. There's a bunch of information that's in these attachments. If you want to do some more research or due diligence on this 54-page document that goes into all of the investment breakdown that has the fund details, and I'm just going to pull up one of them as my computer catches up to me. But this is the American Century International Value Fund. You can read the actual performance here, how the fund's doing, and so on, if you wanted to care to do that. Or you can just simply Google this ticker symbol and pull up additional research on, like, Google or Yahoo Finance or things like that as well. But just wanted to open it up for any other additional questions if either you have them, and we'll get on with our days. All right, and one as just a reminder fact for Steve, the next payroll that you guys are running, depending on how soon the participants get enrolled into the 401k plan, would be when the next payroll run is, and then we'll work with you to coordinate to make sure the payroll system that you have has got those withholding values, and then you're up to speed on that contribution upload to make sure that process is rounded out.
Yeah, I saw some notes about that, and I'm likely to have some questions when I step through it, but I use ADP, so I assume you guys have been through that plenty of times.
Yep, countless times. About half of the clients use ADP, so very familiar with that. It's just kind of getting with ADP to get those withholding values put into the plan to make sure that they've got the column set up for you to put in the percentages that the people want to withhold. So let's say yourself, Thomas, and yourself want to withhold 5% of your income. Is that 5% number just needs to get keyed into payroll to withhold that amount. So that's just one step. And then that following step is just to upload those percentages and those amounts to the retirement plan consultant's website as what's called a contribution upload. It's very straightforward, and we'll make sure you're up to speed on that as that time comes.
Okay.
Great. Well, if there's any other questions that either of you have, feel free to reach out to us. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll look forward to talking with you all in the future.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too, Ian.